Hello and welcome to IndiaPostLive.com, India's first live and interactive news conversation web TV. And we've got an overwhelming response. We have an interesting and special guest today joining us on Google Hangout, a cephalogist turned politician. Also, many call him a master strategist for the Aam Aadmi Party. None other than Yogendra Yadav joining us on Google Hangout. Thank you so much, Yogendra ji, for sparing time to join us at the conversation on India Post Live. We've got a whole bunch of participants and we'll try and get this conversation to be as interactive as possible. Also, to give us some perspective, we have Ms. Monobina Gupta, who's a senior journalist with the DNA newspaper. Thank you both for joining us. To you, Yogendra ji, welcome to IndiaPostLive.com. Your first thoughts, how grueling was this election campaign?
Thank you, Prachi. Delighted to join you and Monobina. Well, yeah, elections have to be grueling. I mean, if you do election campaign and you don't lose a few kilos, even if you don't have many kilos to lose, it's not a real election. So yes, it's been grueling, you can say that. It's also been very exciting, you know. You learn so much. Politics teaches you so much that sometimes political science does not teach you. So for me, it's an experience. It's been a truly humbling experience to realize how little I understood politics and how phony all those claims of my expertise were. So I really have learned a lot about politics, about my own area, and I think these things about master strategists and things of that sort, all that is in thin air. I mean, I really don't think that's true. But I really have learned a lot. I have enjoyed a lot. And if only I could catch up on sleep, life would be wonderful.
But sir, your experience, your journey from doing cephology, from being an observer of a political system and the entire democratic elections in India, to now actually being a participant and, you know, being able to touch base with the voters, with people on the ground. What did it actually feel like? How was this transition and how has the journey been so far?
Prachi, the transition was not as stark for me as it might seem from outside, because for the last 30 years, I've been a fellow traveler with people's movements in the country, with movements for Jal Jangal Jameen, movements for right to information, movements like the NBA, National Alliance for People's Movement. I was part of Samajwadi Jan Parishad, an experiment of alternative politics. So I've been involved in several failed experiments, as it were, failed in the mainstream sense of the term, about creating alternative politics. So a full-time transition to Aam Aadmi Party was a transition. It is a break, it's a shift, but not as radical as you might imagine. It's been tough. It's been tough. Partly because of the sheer demands on time, sheer demands on socializing of a kind that I'm not used to. Also, some of the dirty tricks that are played in elections, which one should be prepared for, but I guess I was not prepared for some of the things people close to you do to you. So that has taken its own toll, but on balance, I feel enriched, I feel I've learned, I feel prepared for the newer and bigger challenges in the country.
How has your view of the Indian democracy changed, or has it changed? Because you've actually contested a Lok Sabha election. So what has been that kind of a change in perspective of our democratic system, if at all?
One thing that has changed is that, you know, much of the so-called cephalology I did, I mean, I never liked the term, I always used to contest it. But much of that cephalology was very macro, taking a macro view of Indian democracy and larger theories and so on. I never had a chance to look at the functioning of elections and politics in a micro setting, which is what election teaches you. You know, these 5 villages which are planning to boycott election because they have a specific problem of water, that strip of 11 villages which are sociologically very different from the rest, and how we react to that, and the actual day-to-day conduct of the polling process. I guess I'm more sensitive now to the difficulties that election process has, the challenges that free and fair elections face in its micro setting. In my own constituency, I saw the working of political parties. I'm afraid I also got to see the working of media in its local setting. And that has been a chastening experience for me. I think I've learned a lot about that. And just actually the sheer act of polling on the day of elections and the kind of little tricks that get played at every level. I think my writings were not adequately sensitive to what happens at the polling booth
Right.
and how local social power influences these things. And I guess I would be more, I'm chastened and I would be more careful in writing about those things now.
Great. I'll just ask Miss Monobina to put in a question, so far if she's had any thoughts on what you said.
Yeah, Yogendra, I had the unique experience of tracking the AAP's campaign in Varanasi just when it was closing, the last 6 days or so. In fact, I tried to get in touch with you also, but you were, kind of too fast in your, kind of movement. So I really, frankly, it was even for, I have been exposed to that kind of movement earlier, long time back, but to me it was really, if I may just be completely frank, mind-boggling to see the way your volunteers who came from across India without any money, without any incentive. I also had the chance as a journalist to watch the BJP campaign from close quarters because I happened to be fortunately or unfortunately staying in the same hotel from where their boardroom was functioning. So to me it was a study of contrasts. So on my return, I am confronted with the exit polls. You've already said, as a cephalogist, you see the
the patterns.
the patterns and the drawbacks, perhaps, of looking at it from a macro level. But I would just like to ask you, even if I assume that the AP doesn't make a mark, so to speak, in electorally in Parliament, in terms of just numerical, I'm just talking about numbers. But where does the AP go from here? Because as far as I'm concerned, I think it is a movement which should have a long life and which can mutate and perhaps take on other forms, but it is not going to disappear even if you don't do as well as perhaps you would have expected to do.
Thank you, Monobina. I mean, Varanasi was truly inspiring, wasn't it, in the last couple of days or so on? People just pouring on the street. More than we had thought would come, more than we had planned for, more than we could handle. And that spirit of volunteerism coming back to politics, that really touched me. There was this volunteer from Maharashtra. He didn't understand the language of the area very well. He just stood on one of these road dividers from 9 in the morning till the sunset in that scorching heat. He stood like a statue, just holding a jharu. That sort of inspiring image that has stayed with me. And that is what I take away from this, Varuna. The point is, what do you expect a new party to do in its election? I did not have any of those fantastic expectations that some of my friends may have had, and there are hopes. And in politics, it's very hard to separate hopes from your realistic expectations. But I guess I'm a hard-boiled cynic in that sense. And I sort of kept thinking about what numbers it would translate in. So actually, exit polls have not surprised me at all. And I suppose the outcome tomorrow will not be very different from what the exit polls are saying. Exit polls should not claim to be more accurate than they can be. So we don't really know whether NDA will touch 272 or not. It could fall short by 20 or 25. It could go over by 10 or so, whatever. But the big picture is there, and there are 2 or 3 very positive things for Aam Aadmi Party. One, in its review effect, this party is 1.5 years old. It has no background, and it is not a party that draws on a community. This party is expected to get anything between 1.5 crore to 2 crore votes in India. That's fantastic. For every one person who voted for us, my guess is that at least 3 or 4 more thought about voting for us. They finally did not. But that's a huge reservoir of goodwill to draw on. Third, we have another breakthrough in Punjab. Our first breakthrough came from Delhi. Another breakthrough clearly from Punjab, irrespective of number of seats we win there. We are getting something like about 25% votes. That's amazing. That's fantastic. And in this election, we had about clearly more than 1 lakh volunteers who gave up everything and did election.
Yogendra ji,
That's it.
I will just
Now,
interrupt you at this point. Yogendra ji, we have a host of callers. If we can just take the first caller who also has, Pratish, who also has a
मैंने
similar
आपको कहना था कहीं
question.
भी नहीं आया जब से ऑनलाइन चैट होगी बता था कल इसके लिए कॉल आया था
I'll just ask Pratish, Pratish, if you can hear us, if you could quickly ask your question, please. Yogendra ji is waiting. Pratish.
Hello.
Yes.
yes, Pratish,
Yeah,
go on.
good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm a founder member of Aam Aadmi Party. I ask some questions. Can you tell me about the future of youth in Aam Aadmi Party?
Yes, Aam Aadmi Party is very much a party driven by the youth. And in a sense, the future of Aam Aadmi Party is the future of youth who are being inspired to come to politics. For a very long time in this country, youth did not turn to politics. Politics was so unfashionable. Aam Aadmi Party had made politics once again an activity worth taking up. For us, youth is not one of the things that we do. We expect the youth to drive this party. So the future of the youth in Aam Aadmi Party is the very future of Aam Aadmi Party.
Yes. One small question, sir.
Yes, Pratish. One last question. We have another caller as well, please. Pratish, go ahead.
Sir, why we are not focusing on Bihar? Because I am from Bihar. In Bihar, there are no activity in Bihar through Aam Aadmi Party. We are not focusing. Why?
Okay.
Pratish, I'm not sure you're well informed. In fact, in Bihar, we have contested almost all the seats. I personally went to Motihari, I went to Shivhar, and my colleagues traveled to other places. We have contested, and we have contested very well. We actually have a decent unit. Please get in touch with them. They would be delighted to have someone like you.
Thank you, Pratish, for your participation. Please, you can, for further questions, do sign out and post your video comments on our website. For more questions, we'll get them to Yogendra ji. We have another caller as well. I'll just get your name. We have another caller coming in. Raman, please go ahead, Mr. Raman, with your question. Aman, sorry, I think. It's Aman. Where are you calling from? And please put your question to Yogendra ji. Aman, if you can hear us, please go ahead with your question. I'll take another question. Mr. Mahi, can you hear us? If you can just put your question to Yogendra ji. Mahi, आप अपना सवाल पूछ सकते हैं. Mr. Mahi, if you can hear us. There seems to be a bit of a lag. We'll try and get a quick question from our Twitter handle. Chirag Gupta is asking that a lot of big political leaders don't seem to take the AAP seriously. How will you change that? Yogendra ji, that is the question from Chirag Gupta. That a lot of big political leaders don't take the AAP seriously. How would you change that?
You don't need to change that. You just need to speak to the public. When public takes it seriously, everyone else begins to take it seriously. So yes, we need to work hard, we need to work harder, and when public responds to us, political leaders will follow. Didn't we see that after Delhi? Something like that will happen naturally as well.
He's also interested to know, will a lot of AAP supporters get to see the AAP in the opposition in the Lok Sabha this time?
Yes, whatever the number. I don't know the exact number. We'll get to know the exact tally tomorrow. For me, those numbers are not really the crux of the matter, because frankly, we were never in the 270. And if we are not there, then whether we are 4 or we are 14 or 24, that's not going to make much of a difference. To my mind, the real challenge of the next 5 years if Mr. Modi comes forward, which appears more likely today, if that is the case, the real challenge is to have a real, genuine opposition in the country, not just inside parliament, but also outside parliament. Frankly, I do not expect the Congress to be able to offer any serious meaningful opposition to Mr. Modi, either inside the parliament or outside the parliament. Aam Aadmi Party has to be as well as outside the parliament.
Right. Monamina, if you can.
Just
Hello?
to take.
My question to the Yadav ji.
Yes, yes.
या तो योगेंद्र जी मेरा क्वेश्चन आपसे है कि बनारस और अमेठी के अंदर जितना आप पार्टी ने जोर लगाया है और बेटर देन कि अगर हरियाणा और पंजाब और यूपी के अंदर अगर ज्यादा जोर लगाए थे बेटर देन इन 2 सीटों की जगह तो ज्यादा नंबर में एमपी जो थे वो लोकसभा में जा सकते थे बट हैव सीन कि जो आपने अमेठी और बनारस में जितना जोर लगाया उतना जोर यूपी में बिहार में पंजाब में नहीं लगा सके
ओके रमन थैंक यू रमन
मेन मकसद जो था मेन मकसद जो आप पार्टी का था नंबर ऑफ एमपीज को लोकसभा में ना कि द मेजर को मोदी और राहुल को रोकना था
ओके
तो आई थिंक यू या
अमन मैं आपकी बात समझ गया
यस सर
आम आदमी पार्टी का सबसे बड़ा उद्देश्य किसी तरह से लोकसभा में ज्यादा नंबर लाना नहीं था। दरअसल हमारा पर्पस क्या है, हमारा ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है? हम इस मुल्क में जिस तरह की पॉलिटिक्स होती है उसे बदलना चाहते हैं। उसको बदलने के लिए लोकसभा के नंबर भी चाहिए, उसके बदलने के लिए लोगों का माइंडसेट बदलना होगा, उसको बदलने के लिए इस देश में जो एस्टेब्लिश्ड पॉलिटिक्स के कुछ जो सबसे बड़े सिंबल उनको भी अटैक करना। हमने हमारी जितनी लिमिटेड एनर्जी है, जितने थोड़े से हम लोग हैं, हमने उसके सारे सब चीजें करने की कोशिश की। और मुझे लगता है राहुल गांधी के खिलाफ और नरेंद्र मोदी जी के खिलाफ चुनाव लड़ना और उन्हें चुनाव में लड़वाना सीरियसली बहुत जरूरी काम था। तो हो क्या रहा था कि ये सब पार्टियां ओवर दे देती। हमने उस परंपरा को तोड़ा। कुमार विश्वास की सैल्यूट करता हूँ, अरविंद केजरीवाल को सैल्यूट करता हूँ कि जहां किसी ने समझा था कि चुनाव है ही नहीं, तो वन साइडेड है, वहां जाके चुनाव लड़ा और उसमें इतनी एनर्जी पूरे बाकी देश में आती है, बाकी कार्यकर्ताओं में आती है कि उससे फायदा होता है। हमेशा कोई भी आप इलेक्शन लड़ें या आप क्रिकेट का मैच खेलें, बाद में हमेशा लगता है कि हाँ भाई ये करते तो शायद अच्छा रहता, वो कर लेते तो शायद बेहतर रहता, ऐसा हमेशा होता है। लेकिन मैं समझता हूँ कि आम आदमी पार्टी के पास जितने कार्यकर्ता हैं, जितने साधन हैं, जितनी समझ है, उसके आधार पे हम जो कर सकते थे हमने बहुत किया। और एक आप याद रखिए, ये पार्टी है जो 1.5 साल पहले पैदा हुई, पहला चुनाव लड़ रही है, हम सीख रहे हैं। और उतने में अगर हमने इतना सब कर दिया, देश की पॉलिटिक्स के सबसे बड़े स्तंभ को, प्रतीकों को एक बार अच्छे से हिला दिया, कम से कम ये तो बड़ी तसल्ली है सर इससे। बाकी हो ही जाता है कि हमारे हमसे बहुत ज्यादा उम्मीद कई बार लोग लगा लेते हैं। मैं समझता हूँ आम आदमी पार्टी कुछ नहीं है, देश के लोगों की जो ताकत है उसका एक छोटा सा रिफ्लेक्शन है। ज्यादा लोग करेंगे हमारी ताकत बढ़ेगी, आप जैसे लोग जुड़ेंगे हमारी ताकत और बढ़ जाएगी, हम सब मिलकर
राइट योगेंद्र जी वी हैव अ फीमेल कॉलर। रमन जी थैंक यू, हमें और एक कॉल भी लेना है प्लीज। आप अपना वीडियो कमेंट ट्विटर पे या फिर अपने ऑडियो कमेंट भी पोस्ट कर सकते हैं हमारे वेबसाइट पे। थैंक यू फॉर योर पार्टिसिपेशन। वी हैव अ फीमेल कॉलर, आई थिंक इट इज, हर नेम इज ज्योति। इफ यू कुड जस्ट इंट्रोड्यूस योरसेल्फ मैम एंड गो अहेड विथ योर क्वेश्चन। If you could hear us, Miss Jyoti. We have another gentleman, Miss Aman. Mr. If you can see us, Miss Jyoti, go ahead. Ma'am, we can't hear you. If you could just put on your audio or increase the volume from your computer. Please unmute your audio, please, and go ahead. We have a lot of callers waiting, ma'am. Thank you for your patience. Can we get, I think there's a problem with Miss Jyoti's audio. Aman, can you hear us, Mr. Aman?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Please go ahead. Thank you for your patience. Very quickly, please ask your question to Yogendra ji.
Thank you for having me here. My question is for Mr. Yogendra Yadav. Sir, how do you think, what...
Go ahead, sir. I think we have a problem with the connection. I will also ask a question on Twitter. We are getting a lot of questions. Mr. Raj Charghave is asking, how many seats will the AAP get, Yogendra ji? And how does the AAP plan to survive or carry forward its work when the volunteers go back to their own professions?
The number of seats question will be settled in about 24 hours. And really, even when I used to do this, I always wondered why this business of anticipating the verdict 48 hours before it came, got so much excitement. We are not, it's quite clear, we are not in the business of coming anywhere close to 272. It clearly seems that BJP would emerge as the largest party, would do better than it has ever done. That Congress would do its worst ever, and that we would have a small but significant difference. I'm expecting that we would pick up a few seats in Delhi. People say between 1 and 3. I also expect something in Punjab. I must say, my real hope is in Punjab this time. Punjab is going to be the story for Aam Aadmi Party tomorrow when the counting takes place. The exit polls are saying between 1 and 2, 3. But if we get a little more than what exit polls are saying, we could have a bigger surprise in store for us. So all this should add up to a few seats and full number of seats, which is what is most likely to happen. For me, as I said just now, the number of seats in Lok Sabha are not really what this election is all about for Aam Aadmi Party. It is about votes, it's about goodwill, it's about volunteers, it's about our capacity to send a message in the country, which is what we have done. How the party will survive? I think a party which has more than 1 lakh volunteers who gave up everything to work for this party, that party doesn't need to worry about its future. These volunteers are the future of this party.
Right. Ms. Jyoti, now can you, if you can hear us, please go ahead with your question, ma'am. There seems to be a problem with your audio, Ms. Jyoti. I'm very sorry. We seem to have a, we can't seem to hear you at all. We have Mr. Chirag. I believe Mr. Chirag is also joining us from another city. If we can hear him. Not very sure. Ms. Monobina, if you can go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Yogendra, I wanted to ask you, like, is she, can she be heard now?
No, I don't think she can be heard. Yogendra ji can hear you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you because you said that much of this battle will, okay, let me say, if not, battle may not be the right word, say a clash of ideas, because clearly there is a different idea which is in the making, whether it's economic, society, gender, etc. So far, we haven't seen Congress do anything on that. So the political class, in fact, has not discussed or debated any of these major ideas. For example, a lot of it being debated outside Parliament, and if so, I know it's very premature to ask you what would be the form, but how do you take this, how do you get the discourse going? Because for the first time, we've seen an alternative discourse in the making, and it has taken off. How do you see it, being being perpetuated and being kept alive?
You're absolutely right, Monobina. I mean, what we have is a fundamental clash of 2 ideas of India. 2 ideas of India about what it means to be democracy. 2 ideas of India about what kind of development this country wants or matters to the people. And 2 ideas about how to deal with diversity in this country, whether we celebrate it or we try and homogenize. This battle or this fundamental clash may not be articulated in the parliament as much. We may not have those big numbers to do that. And other parties are unable to turn this into a real serious clash. I really do not expect the Congress to be able to do so. So where do we carry out this battle? We carry out this battle as it always has been in democracy out there on the street. which is to say, in education, through movement, in seminar rooms, books, specific struggles. What Aam Aadmi Party has done is to articulate this idea not in abstract forms. Perhaps we should go for abstractions as well at some point, but through concrete everyday struggles, which is how Aam Aadmi Party will continue going forward. Because what we have at stake this time, if Mr. Modi comes forward, is is a battle to save the very fundamental values of our constitution. So it's not what that is. The preface to the constitution lays down some fundamental values. We never had to struggle for them. Today we may have to struggle for them. And that is where I see the role for Aam Aadmi Party.
Right. I'll bring it, Yogendra ji, I'll bring in another caller as well here. If you can hear us, Ms. Jyoti, if you can hear us, can you please for the one final time ask your question? Is your audio clear now? Ms. Jyoti is still with us, but I think we'll try and get another caller, Mr. Prakash, Mr. Prashant. Sorry, if you can go ahead with your question for Yogendra ji. Mr. Prashant, could you raise your audio level? I think we can only faintly hear you. Mr. Prashant. I also want to know, Yogendra ji, while we get our callers' audio together, AAP has a lot of different ideologies, a spectrum of ideology, left, right or center, leaders from various ideologies, people from every sphere of life. How will the party, be able to have the contradictions in decision making or a clash of ideologies within the party's functioning itself? How do you all plan to tackle that? Is there a larger plan?
Prachi, contradictions like beauty lie in the eyes of the beholder. We have people who have come from very different backgrounds, from very diverse ideological convictions, and we have started working together. The one conviction that we share is that we do not want to go back to one of the 20th century packages, which called itself left, which called itself right, or whatever they called itself. That in the 21st century we have to together invent, rebuild, reimagine a new kind of ideology suited for our times. And probably that ideology need not neatly fit into one of those packages that came from Europe in the 20th century, which is what we are working towards. It will take time. It would look not so neat, because the neatness we are looking for is one of the 20th century packages. I would just request friends, colleagues, fellow travelers to have patience. We are in the business of reimagining what it means to do progressive politics in this country. That may take time. There could be a few steps backwards as well. But in the last instance, Aam Aadmi Party is moving towards a new vision for India, which will come through long, endless conversations and struggles. Practical struggles are shaping the ideology of this party more than abstract conversations.
Right. Sir, a quick question from one of our readers. One of the party functionaries of AAP, Mr. Gopal, was quoted in the media saying that the AAP would possibly extend support to a third front. What is, in the coming weeks, what will they extend support to the UPA or the NDA? What will be its next move? Or to stop Modi, will there be a specific move then?
I spoke to Gopal Bhai after that, and he was clearly misquoted because either certainly not, and this so-called third front, this is not our politics. Because if we believed in this third front politics of the so-called secular parties coming together, we should have joined one of those anyway. We came out because we felt that all these parties are, in the last instance, part of the political establishment of this country, which is responsible for moral and political bankruptcy. So we can't possibly join any of them. And those old style formula of 1990, that in order to prevent communism, let all secular forces unite. I'm not sure if these are really secular forces. These are really pro-people forces. So we don't believe in that. We are not going to align with any of them. Whatever our numbers, we would be that tiny little detergent in the parliament. And our job is to clean the system. Our job is to raise voices which are not raised, to raise issues. So all of people are voices in the parliament, to raise those things which are not raised, and to break the conspiracy of silence about the big corporates of this country.
Very important statement coming from Yogendra ji. Amandeep, I'll just come back to you again. We seem to have gotten your audio. Go ahead with your next question, Amandeep.
Thank you. My question is for Mr. Yogendra Yadav. Sir, how do you think our society is progressing as far as 1992 and 2014 is concerned? The Indian voter voted the same way like the polarization happened in this election? So, or are we going to be mature in the coming years?
Amandeep, my sense is that the voters can respond only to a given set of political menu that they have. Aam Aadmi Party is an attempt to expand that menu so that people can exercise those choices. Some people would exercise it this time because we were able to reach out to them. Some of them may not be able to respond right now because either we were not quite visible, we could not reach out to them, or they thought it's too early, we can't take risk and it's too experimental and things of that sort. So we'll reach out to them a little later. My own sense is that voters in this country are fed up with the political establishment. They want to give a chance to newer political alternatives, to an alternative kind of politics. But we have to work harder. We have done something which is spectacular in the last year and a half. But there is a long way to go. Changing politics in this country, a large and complex country like India, has to be a very long struggle, and we all have to be prepared for that.
Thank you, Amandeep, for a very interesting question and your patience. We have a quick question on our Twitter handle, Yogendra ji. Somebody with a Twitter handle called Aam Aadmi, in fact, is asking you a question. Why is the party not aggressive against paid media in television debates? And they want to know your response to that.
My dear Aam Aadmi, I can tell you that I'm personally one of the victims of this fake news. This is what happened in my constituency. And you know the funny result? Every other candidate, I'm told, managed to buy news space in the local media. And at the end of it, who got the notice for paid news? I was the one who got notice from the election commission about paid news. So things are very, very funny. Yes, you can be aggressive. Yes, you can laugh at it. You can laugh at the irony of it. And, there's something really serious to be done. You are absolutely right. We had not realized, I sat with all my colleagues from Haryana, all the 10 constituencies, and every one of them was approached by the local media for a package. It could be 10 lakhs to 25 lakhs. And yes, it's a real serious issue. And very often, I really wish that election commission were to spend its energy less on the pursuit of trivia, like the meeting must stop at 10 o'clock and not 5 past 10 and things of that time. And if only they were to devote more attention to controlling one of these absolutely brazen things about paid media, it would be so much better. I would just alert you, Aam Aadmi, to one thing, because some of us make the mistake. When we attack media, we begin to attack media persons as well. I think there's a difference between the character of a journalist. Most journalists in this country are reasonably good professionals, like most doctors, like most lawyers. And the character of media, which is controlled by owners, which is influenced by the political or business interests of the owners of that media. So while we must interrogate and ask for transparency in the conduct of media and these media houses, we must not assume that media persons are dishonest.
Right. I'll just bring in Mr. Rahul here. If you can hear us, please go ahead with your question for Yogendra ji. Thank you for joining us, Rahul, and for your patience.
Yeah, Mr. Yogendra ji, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of your, and I'm a Aam Aadmi Party volunteer for Bangalore. So I was listening to your exit poll comments on different channels, but I never saw you anywhere just rebuting the exit polls. Though I feel that this exit polls, the whole business of exit poll is only for stock market fluctuations, and some insiders of this corporate lobby with the media, they are making money out of it. But I never heard you saying about this at all. So is my hunch right? Or because you were also involved, you were also a pollster, and if I see other persons from Aam Aadmi Party who were earlier in the media, like Ashutosh, they are also not saying about this. Is it because your past is involved in this and you do not want to talk about it, or this is just a curiosity in my mind? So I just want to get it clarified from you.
Rahul, yes, you are absolutely right to say that I did not say those things simply because I actually don't believe in it. We must make a distinction between opinion polls that are done prior to election, which can influence voting, which is a very, very sensitive issue, where we want more transparency, where we are interrogating the media, and those other exit polls which come after the last person has voted. Those second kind of polls simply cannot influence anything in this country except stock market and Sakama. And as someone, when I used to practice this opinion poll, exit poll, that's right. As you might have noticed, over the years we moved from the first to the second, yes, 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 actually more or less stopped or reduced significantly any pre-election opinion polling. Because that's not very scientific as yet, and it has huge impact on the morale of the workers, if not the voters themselves. But what we've seen in the last few days are not polls of that kind. These are exit polls which are estimating after the election is over. And I really think we, all of us, must value polls. I think they are giving us a lot of very important information that you and I should learn from. And one of the worst things that you can do to a survey is to sit on a chair and say, I disagree. I think we should come up with careful etiquette. We should shift that and express a disagreement if at all. So you're absolutely right. I did not rebut those polls because it was pointless. I was very amused when I saw politicians whirling over these numbers 48 hours before counting. It made no sense to me, and it still makes no sense to me.
Yeah, Mr. Yogendra Yadav, continuing to the same question, can I continue?
Yes, please go ahead.
Actually, what I fundamentally believe, this all opinion poll business is actually death of the democracy. Please listen to me for 1 minute, because what I feel that one should vote for a person or a party whom he fundamentally believes. Okay, so even if I believe in Aam Aadmi Party, or if I believe in BJP, or if I believe in Congress, I want that fundamental to go forward. But when there is an opinion poll, there is something. It has been so the concept of wasting of vote comes in when we start thinking, okay, people will vote for a party who is winning, or a person who is winning. This whole thing is wrong. If suppose we do not give vote to a person, even irrespective of whether he's winning or losing, it is a death of democracy.
Okay.
So do you agree to the same thing, and do you think that because of this reason the opinion poll should not happen?
Rahul, I made a distinction which you probably didn't catch. What we are witnessing in the last few days are exit polls which take place after the voting is over, which are disclosed after the last person has voted. So they obviously have no impact on any voter. So
No, I'm not talking about exit polls. I'm talking about opinion polls.
Yes, I have already said about opinion polls that they should be done with enormous caution, responsibility, transparency. I'm generally not for ban because Rahul, it's not just opinion polls who do this. Newspapers carry reports about which way the wind is blowing. Newspapers are doing reporting. People are talking to each other. They are speaking on telephone. There is internet. So my sense is that bans are usually a very ineffective way of regulating something. we should come up with intelligent. You're absolutely right. It is a very sensitive matter, which requires careful discussion. But I would suggest that we should not jump for something as simple and ineffective as it.
Right. Thank you, Rahul, for your thoughts and talking to Yogendraji. One question before you go away, Yogendraji. Vivek Tiwari is asking, leaving Delhi ghost has hurt and affected a huge number of supporters for the AAP. What are the AAP's plans to remedy that?
It is true that the manner in which we took the decision to leave the government, as Arvind has himself said, that has affected the morale of many of many of our voters felt surprised, shocked. They didn't know because the decision came to them first. The rationale came much later. We should have done exactly what we did at the time of assuming the government, which is discuss the rationale first and then arrive at a decision. If you ask me personally, I do not think our decision is wrong. We cannot be like Congress and the BJP, not fulfill our flagship promise and stick to form. But we should have consulted the people, we should have explained to them, and if they did not agree with us and if they said no, stay on for another couple of months, we should have abided by that. So we should be more careful in the manner in which we arrive at decision. Aam Aadmi Party is we do make errors. We are not experienced in politics matters, so we try. We do make errors. We rectify those errors and I don't those mistakes. But what we have not done is to compromise with our honesty, with the basic commitment to the thing.
Monobina quickly has a question, sir, before we go.
I have one question.
Okay. Let him ask.
Yes.
I have one question.
Yes, please. Monobina, go ahead with your question, then somebody else can.
Okay, just one
quick question.
Last question from me. Since you've broken such new ground in almost every area, I would like to ask you, are you planning to have a debate on issues of gender, on issues of gay rights, on issues which is completely outside the agenda of political parties? Will the Aam Aadmi Party do something new in these completely, heavily fraught areas?
Absolutely, Monobina, why not? And in fact, we have been forced to do so. And I'm very grateful to those who have forced us to do so. Many women's rights groups were unhappy with the way the 50 extension episode happened. We engaged in a conversation with.
We seem to have had a problem with Yogendraji's final statements, but thank you everyone for the overwhelming response that you've all participated in this very interactive session on indiapostlive.com. Please do keep in your video and audio comments on our website and our Twitter handle, and also take forward this conversation with your comments, feedback, #HumBole on our Twitter ID @IndiaPostLive, on our website www.indiapostlive.com and our Facebook page, and we can continue this discussion, a very engaging one. We thank AAP's Yogendra Yadav, cephalogist turned political activist turned politician, and we wish him good luck with his contest from Gurgaon, and we'll try and get you more feedback from what Yogendra Yadav's fate has been at the election scenario at the polling booth. The numbers will be out on May 16. Thank you, Monobina ji, for your great perspective and your patience with your questions. Thank you all the participants. Do take forward this very interesting conversation. First of its kind candidates speak on indiapostlive.com. Please participate and take forward this conversation. We have one final sign-off statement from Yogendra ji. I apologize, we had a network problem, sir. So your mic seems to be on mute. If you could just...
Yeah, may I ask question?
No, please. Yogendra ji is making a final statement. Yes, sir.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. I was saying that Aam Aadmi Party is not a party. It's a product of, it's a political expression of movements in this country in the last 25, 30 years. In this period, a third space has come up in Indian politics, but the third front has collapsed, shrunk, and has become irrelevant. Aam Aadmi Party is a natural home to this third space in Indian politics. And this third space is absolutely vital for the next 5 years if and should Mr. Modi become the Prime Minister of this country. The struggles against that vision of India have to be in that third space, because I do not expect Congress to take on that opposition. And that is where all these conversations with movements, groups, or struggles are vital. And Aam Aadmi Party should become a natural political home for all social movements and struggles.
Thank you, Yogendra ji, for your time and your perspective and being so patient with all our callers and their questions. We wish you good luck for the future and May 16th. And also, please take forward a conversation on our Twitter handle, #HumBole. It's trending on Twitter. We really appreciate your time and your participation in our Google Hangout. Thank you so much, sir. Okay. Thank you for your time and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks. And bye, Monobina.
Bye. Bye.
Goodbye,
all the
sir.
best. Bye.
Bye.
We apologize to the callers who could not take part in our conversation, but thank you all for being so patient. Please take forward and participate in our HumBole contest, #HumBole. You can win grand prizes, including a sedan car. Make your predictions, be an exit poll pollster, and put in your comments and feedback, and take it forward on our Twitter handle and our Facebook page and also our website. Thank you all for participating on IndiaPostLive.com. Goodbye.